Good afternoon, everyone. Excuse me, this is Jared RAND, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Monday, May 6th, 2024, a little after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. We'll be having a time for change call this Wednesday, around 9, give or take 9 p.m. Eastern. In every moment, we all have the golden opportunity to choose what? Trust over fear. And as we all know, with these accelerated time path on this planet, all the things that are changing rapidly, the planet's spinning, and the so-called time can't keep up with it. A lot of people, through the ego mind, choose that. In a way, they choose fear. And we know that fear is an illusion. And why do we have fear? Because we're so attached to the physical form. That's why we have fear. Part of the spiritual transition or transcendence or ascension of the civilization involves discovering within that there is no fear. Also discovering that you, all of us in these bodies, are God, which means that we never die. We're supremely powerful beings that never die. Now the body, right now, does cease, and we leave it. It ceases and we leave it. But because of our programming and conditioning through so many generations, we're attached to the physical material world. And the spiritual of what we truly are is left behind. And we're not talking about churches and religion or anything like that. Now, when we can learn how to let go of this tight grip we have on life, we immediately make a more intimate space for a closer relationship with the divine healing intelligence that abides behind everything. All of our overly fearful, doubtful, and protective feelings instantly fade away when we are trusting that a divine intelligence is always present in our lives. A softness blossoms inside. We regain our natural ability to relax fully into our body and can start enjoying every detail about our present, past, and future. With deep trust, we can evolve as spiritual beings. And without it, we are lost. When you look from a watcher's perspective and not a judgment through the head perspective on this planet, and you watch different versions of us, and you see how, the religions and everything else. We've got over 60,000 religions on this planet, and how so many people are lost. We can ascend to the point where we are trusting that every experience that this life brings us is absolutely divine and perfect. Even if an experience may be painful, the greater, deeply eternal loving is known and felt hidden inside. A trusting heart can quietly realize how a fear is our greatest teacher. always invoking a higher state of spiritual awareness into our future, so that we stop pretending to be these small, powerless, ego-driven beings and start living that truly amazing life we so love. You may find that choosing trust over fear really comes down to worshiping our spiritual nature over our ego. It's about a deep devotion to our real selves and being truly dedicated to filling up our precious time on this earth with more relaxation, appreciation, and joy instead of ego-driven anxieties, demands, and tension. With trust as our deepest guide, we can pierce through the ego's veil of ignorance and perceive those life-challenging people and situations with the utmost patience and appreciation. Having no resistance to fear, we follow with the great spirit of life and know everything works itself out karmically in the very end. Now, this level of trust instills such a fresh, enlightening perspective about this life, which instantly liberates the mind from all negative thinking. With trust in charge, when we hit an emotional wall of resistance or fear, we open up to it instead of shut down even further. We feed into the wall, feel into the wall, knowing there is always a bigger spiritual lesson behind it to be learned, and looking forward to finding out what it is. This approach is what allows for a deeper state of peace to make its home inside our heart and soul. Trust is such a powerful force that can turn the most ordinary life instantly into an extremely rich spiritual adventure. With trust, we feel safe and connected with everyone we meet, and naturally are overflowing with an effervescent joy in all directions. We tend to respond to others with compassion instead of criticism, curiosity instead of impatience, and understanding instead of judgment. Every moment of this life becomes a new doorway that opens up to the highest and deepest aspects of our being. When we become more aware how trust is a choice, we discover our power to either expand or contract our experience of life in each moment. This power enables us to become the spiritual masters of our destiny. We no longer fear life, yet embrace it all. As we gain more trusting momentum, we are able to remain only in the trust vibration for longer periods of time. We understand how to skyrocket our consciousness in a matter of minutes, and eventually catapult our lives into the fifth dimensional realm of the divine. Trust is the magical gateway to our true unlimited nature as it transcends the ego and opens the door to our most enlightened state of consciousness. See, we hear all this, many different versions, applications, and understandings, droves, about, the fifth dimension, right? How, the Flash is going to set it all up and we're all going to be there, and these different things, different perspectives. And in eventuality or actuality, what happens is that we discovered that we are the masters of transcending and ascending in 5-dimensional frequency. You increase your frequency, therefore you ascend into higher frequency. You maintain a higher frequency, therefore you ascend in higher frequency. It's a choice. And every one of us have that ability and power to do so. It's a decision, but how do you make a decision if you don't know who and what you are? You're not going to. You're basically going to just say, oh, this is silly, that's crazy, it's stupid. We don't need to do that. And this is where we all are at in this current existence, is to go within and stay within. And yes, there'll be times where you're pulled out because the ego mind is very, very persistent, but you'll go back in. And the more you go back in, the longer you stay, and the less you're being pulled out. And then eventually, you begin to understand how to master the ego mind, because you've watched it instead of it being the master of you. You're watching it and you're leaving it alone. So you learn about your ego and the mind and all that noise chatter and everything. And what do we do most of the time in this life, or any of the lifetimes we've had? What do? We take it so darn seriously. Not only that, it's like we've got jet rockets on our life boosting us at high velocity speeds so we can't see anything around us. We just look ahead to the finish. And as you've heard me mention it many times, rushing through life damages the soul. So it's you get these kind of directions where, for yourself, you write it down. You say, directions to spiritual ascension, and you write it down for you. Doesn't mean everybody's the same. And you might say, my choice is to go within to discover the God that I am within this body. I am not the body. I am not the name. I'm not the character. I'm not the personality. I'm not the ego mind. It's a vessel that carries me, the God that I am on this planet, to experience the physical material world, which I choose to enjoy. When we become more aware how trust is a choice, we discover our power to either expand or contract our experience of this life in each moment. This power enables us to become the spiritual masters of our destiny. See, and I repeat that on purpose, we're the spiritual masters of our destiny. What were we all taught? Most of us basically were taught what? As children, this is predestined for you, or this is your destiny, and the destiny cannot be changed. Preordained, you can't change your destiny. But you can do anything you choose to do, and you can change your destiny. You can change your future. You can change a lot of things. It's up to you. Spiritual masters of our destiny. Isn't that wild? Who would have thunk it? We no longer fear life, yet we embrace it all of it, all of it. And then we gain this momentum, this more trusting momentum. What happens when you don't trust yourself? It's not fun, is it? You know, you're kind of indecisive, you're not sure, I don't know about this. And what happens is when you don't trust yourself, you can't trust anything else. You just won't be able to. The self is like the screen, and the world is like the pictures on it. You can see the picture only so long as there is a screen. But when the seer himself becomes the screen, only the self remains, Ramana. And we talk about the fear and the trust because there's a lot of people on this planet right now that are absolutely strapped with fear. And it's amazing. I don't know if any of you have had recent conversation with the other beings, and they're like they have. I just had a conversation this morning with a tow truck guy, right? Very nice energy, very good person, good being. And he had no idea of what has been transpiring on the planet. None, just totally in the dark, but was receptive to it, which is different. Now, you may have talked to some people that aren't receptive to it at all, and you do kind of a soft step away, right? You just kind of go, a step away from that. But you realize that the majority of people on this planet don't have a clue. It doesn't mean they're bad. It's just that they don't have a clue. They don't know. Throughout time, throughout the stages of at least this life, and you've seen it through past situations, right? It repeats itself. You notice that every now and then there comes communication that there's a lot of people waking up every day, and there's a lot more people waking up. 20 years ago they were saying that. 30 years ago they were saying that. And during Woodstock and all of that, and make peace, make love, not war. But that was all being said, that more and more people are waking up. And so the generations dwindle into the next, right? And do you understand? So that generation, the Woodstock generation, baby boomers, faded away. Remember the hippies and all that stuff. And then another generation came in. And of course, its values and directions were much different than the generation before it. And then, of course, that generation kind of faded out. And then another generation came in. How can it be so lopsided, you wonder? Why aren't we all in the spirit, right, inside by now, across the planet? Why haven't we mastered the ego mind a long time ago? Why haven't we mastered our thoughts a long time ago? Doesn't it seem strange to you? I mean, we were embraced in peace and love, but it was kind of misguided. You remember the Hare Krishnas and the orange robes running around with the tambourines banging, and all the different songs that came out then. The Age of Aquarius, all these different love and peace and joy and prosperity and happiness. And then today, now, in this very now moment, where do you feel that we are as a civilization? Not as judgment, but as a perspective and understanding. And you understand that the forces of lower frequencies have pushed and kind of interrupted the flow of that love, peace, and joy, prosperity, happiness, bliss, which is all within us. So how do you keep a people or a civilization from that? Fear. That's it, fear. And to get them to doubt themselves, to not trust themselves, to not have faith in themselves, to not have confidence in themselves. Pretty nifty, isn't it? That kind of programming. Now, some people would say, what's the opposite of fear then? Wouldn't it be love? Nope. What is it? Trust. Now, yet through living a life of trust, we naturally start falling in love with everything and everyone. That's what happens. When we naturally, living a life of trust, we naturally start falling in love with everything and everyone. With 100% trust, we become loveaholics of life, feeling naturally orgasmic about this precious opportunity we have to live, feeling completely turned on by this chance to find our spiritual path and connection. The expansive feeling in the heart can become so divinely open that every breath feels as though we are making love with the divine. Now, with that understanding, you would believe or think that you'd have all kinds of people ready to sign up for choosing a life devoted to always responding with trust. The reason we don't is because there's not that many that understand. The spiritual power we receive from the trust vibration is simply awesome. Total trust effortlessly engulfs all kinds of egoic negativity that may try to dominate any room. When a being who has 100% unshakable trust enters any community, it's so penetrating and contagious that everyone's ego eventually falls into either embarrassment or humility. When this group of people all simultaneously begin choosing trust over fear, you can feel this giddy, enlightening joy exponentially expanding through everyone's lives. The group energy becomes more relaxed and at ease with their life, their future, and everything as it is. To live a life flowing with trust, it's important to understand that fear is not a bad thing. It's just not something we want behind making any of our decisions. Now, if we make fear-based decisions, because we've all done that, because none of us are exempt from that, we all make fear-based decisions in this life. What happens? We will only create fear-based outcomes. Now, if we try to avoid fear or attempt to delete it completely from our lives, it will sneak back in when our guard is down. Fearful thoughts are there to wake us up, to invite in our biggest self, as they are simply small contracted truths about reality. It's like tiny grains of sand, right? Little tiny grains can be so meaningless and inconsequential, and maybe this has happened to you, unless one of them gets stuck in your eye. It is amazing how something so small can create such a huge pain. You ever had a grain of sand caught in your eye? It's not fun. Or any little teeny piece of something. No matter what you do, it seems like it's embedded. You can't get it out. So you look at the tiny grains of sand are meaningless until one gets stuck in your eye. It's amazing how something so small can create such a huge pain. In walking the path of fear, we are living from our egos. The ego is always feeling either superior or inferior. We become very controlling and judgmental. Living in ego, we become narrow-minded and completely unaware that we are abiding in a very small, limiting truth. We know we are living from ego because we feel constantly unsatisfied, perpetually searching for the next fantastic thing or new pleasure to escape into. The ego does not know what inner peace is. Doesn't know it. Imagine that. The ego does not know what inner peace is. Has no clue. It is untrusting of new things, sticking only to what is comfortable, and often feels caught in needing to protect itself from our emotions and feelings. The ego is always new ways to hide or shine because it does not trust our inner light. It doesn't trust our inner light will always be there to guide us through the darkness. When there is no desire to dominate, all right? No desire whatsoever to dominate, no desire to cling, no desire to possess, guess what? The ego starts evaporating. Osho. In order for any of us to always choose trust over fear, you need to take a more sensitive approach to feeling into ourselves so we can see when we are in a state of trust or fear. You can check in any moment of your day what is going on in the area around your heart and chest. If it feels expansive and light, you're in a state of trust. And if it's tight and heavy, you're holding on to fear. The general feeling you carry in your chest is your trust barometer to see what types of choices you're making every day. When we are living each day of our lives in fear, and believe it or not, there's a lot of people on this planet in this very now moment that are, we tend to want to control everything, force our way through this life. We tend to live in this hurry-it-up mode, rushing through each sacred experience, missing out on the small, precious moments where it could have felt as heavenly angels were present. When trust does not become a natural response to this life, we become afraid to make decisions. We stop taking risks. We feel stuck in some weird emotional prison and perpetually unhappy for no reason at all. You ever been that way, or you know anybody that they're just unhappy for no reason at all? What are you unhappy for? You've got all this and this and this is going on. You know, you're healthy. Oh, I don't know. I just don't feel happy. When fear is more important than trust, we feel like a failure in this life. Instead of simply removing the small speck of sand from our own eye, we spend our time trying to change ourselves, others, and the outer world. Once we discover how to trust in the experience of trust, a bigger truth takes over our lives, and the walls of our fearful, boxed-in life slowly fall away. Now, in the event you need to liberate yourself from a fearful state, you must choose to welcome all your fears with 100% trust. And remember, everything is perfect exactly as it is. Now, I know for a lot of people, that's a tough nut to crack because they're so conditioned, right? You want me to welcome all of my fears with 100% trust? And then you're saying that everything is perfect exactly as it is? Look what's going on out there. How can you say everything's perfect exactly as it is? This universe never makes mistakes. We simply have to accept every pile of manure as a message that we need more fertilizer. You accept every pile of manure as a message that we need more fertilizer. If your life or mind becomes too overwhelming or challenging, simply refocus your awareness back on the biggest feeling of trust that you can remember. Dwell only on that trusting feeling for 1 to 2 hours. Give yourself permission to stop dwelling on what you fear. Very short time, you can find the spiritual light starts seeping back into your very soul again. See, a lot of us, we rely on the mind for what? You see it every day. We rely on the mind for liberation. Nisargadatta quote. Now, knowing that there is an amazing infinite universe all around us, outer space extends far beyond what we can see with any high-tech cosmic telescope, which can view star systems, billions of light years away. This incredible universe is also a living, breathing experience that extends infinitely within us. Within us. It continues deeper beyond the atomic quantum particles, which are amazing yet ancient. Electron microscopes can barely see. And when we look inside ourselves on a conscious level, using our mind to explore who we truly are, what we discover is yet another realm of infinity. Inside our minds, there are memories piled upon memories, beliefs within beliefs, all stacked to infinity. For every new thought that is forming right now, there are a dozen new thoughts soon to follow. Just sit down on some lazy Sunday afternoon to spiritually investigate who you really are, and you'll find you can ascend and descend forever within the deepest realms of your very soul. However, what you may find most fascinating inside of this infinite mystery is in the relationship that's manifesting between our inner world, the outer universe. It behaves something like a perpetual reflection in a mirror. Whatever is happening within our inner world is attracting, magnetizing, and manifesting what we are experiencing in our outer world. So when you look at everything as a watcher, not as a judger, look at it all. View it all. And then you say to yourself, did we do this? All of this? Yes, we did. We continue to do so. So whatever is going on within us is manifesting outside of us. For example, if you're in a good mood today, right? I mean, we're in, a good mood. All you're going to see are happy, smiling faces wherever you go. You will, too. You will. And amazing opportunities seem to effortlessly float your way. Then, if you fall down into an emotional dumpster, the face of every person has nothing but gloom and doom smeared all over it. And it feels like your entire life is about to collapse. And I've talked to people like this, and I myself have felt this way at times in this life. I don't think any of us are exempt from it. This law of attraction is universal, one of the universal laws of all that there is, ever has been, ever will be, ever beyond, and forever. This law of attraction is unavoidable. Whatever we are feeling and feeding into emotionally on the inside is somehow always materializing into whatever we see, experience, and physically attract in our outer world. So if you say to yourself, within, you're not vocalizing it, you say to yourself, oh, this is never going to happen. It'll never happen in a million years. And it doesn't happen. The more love and compassion and acceptance we have for ourselves, this is crucial. The easier it is to have compassion and love and acceptance for others. Why is there such disharmony? What is the root cause of the disharmony on this planet? I don't care if you're an off-worlder or on-worlder. Because it's our relationship with ourselves. The love that we have for ourselves, the confidence, the faith, the trust. It isn't there. Because we've never really explored it. Or it's always that one thing which we absolutely dislike and can't stand about the other, which is reflecting some part inside ourselves that we don't care to own or accept. Now, let's say if you're upset at your neighbor or anybody in the vicinity for being too dominating, controlling, aggressive, instead of having compassion with them, and when you take a closer look inside yourself, you will see how you are not okay with those parts of yourself that feel too dominating, controlling, or aggressive. It's all a deep and yet transparent mirror. Our inner world is an extension of our outer universe. This means that this life extends into infinity in every direction and dimension. Our inner and outer universes are never separate. Even though our physical body appears to be a completely isolated entity, it is not. We live in one sacred ocean of energy. There simply is just one universe that extends for infinity into the other realms in all directions and inner dimensions. We contain the wet and salty qualities of the entire ocean, and yet are just a single drop in it. And the oceanic waves are always moving us, flowing through us as us. One of the essential problems that you may find most people are having with life is that they are not reaching deep enough inside themselves to reconnect with their actual living, breathing, infinite spiritual essence. Our spiritual nature is a real thing. It is our most basic reality. It is what keeps our heart beating, our breathing, and our life force moving through us in every moment of existence. We don't have to breathe. Our body does it for us. The same is with our spiritual essence. It is living and creating through our physical body, unfolding its essential karmic programming within this great cosmic playground. It's good to know that suffering happens only when the mind gets in the way. That's for all of us. When we become overly focused on thoughts and material things that make us feel limited or time-bound, we start believing we only have limited options. And the realm of the infinite fades into the background of the finite. And we start thinking everyone is living in a very small, contracted world. When we only focus on our needs, we forget how to connect with the soul of others. If we are always thinking about money and more material possessions, we cannot see or feel the infinite reality that is beneath it all. A majority of the rat race is trapped in thinking about what? The majority is trapped in thinking about time-bound appointments, which causes consciousness to squeeze itself into a tiny temporal box or boxes. Let's say 4:30 p.m. That's a box, temporal box. I gotta tell 4:30 p.m. And with his deadline coming, we just don't have time to feel what eternity is like. And when we only live in a limited tick-tock 24-hour clock world that is consumed with resources around money and material items, we instantly start feeling disconnected from the infinite eternal beings we actually are. This addictive dwelling of the mind on what is not infinite or eternal is what makes us feel spiritually disconnected from every living being on the planet today. We are all birthed, all of us are birthed, with a limited time-bound physical body. Limited time-bound physical body. So that we could acquire a contrasting perspective and experience ourselves as the infinite eternal being we actually are. We have the capability to create, manifest, and experience anything we desire. We are all the children of a great universal consciousness, God, that is impregnated with unlimited potentiality. If all this talk about the infinite is expanding your mind too much to handle today. Just remember that your inner world is always impacting and manifesting something in your outer world. Every thought you believe to be true is what is creating your reality. Your thoughts are always flowing through you. Always. All of us. And are always creating everything in our lives. We will become whatever we think in the future. Okay? Every one of us will become what we think in the future. So be aware of your innermost thoughts, and yet somehow remain non-attached. Your thoughts are not who you truly are. You are an eternal, infinite consciousness who is beyond form and time. You're beyond time. We're all beyond time. We are pure awareness, reflecting back on itself in this physical universal universe of space and time. Let go of thoughts that were cycling in your mind yesterday and ideas about the way life should turn out for you tomorrow. Be here now. Now is the moment of power. Now is where enlightenment is discovered. For physically, you are forever forced to exist in this present moment. Your present awareness is always being generated from this present moment. Know this. Live and breathe within this knowing. I join you in the meditation. I'll return to close us out.
An easy and slow breath in through the nose. An easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. The greatest spiritual energy in this entire universe is inside you, right here and now. There is nothing you can do to diminish, taint, or change this ever-present spiritual consciousness that is flowing through you. For today, imagine you have the volume control on the knowingness that you are this eternal spiritual energy. Turn up your knowingness as high as it will go. What does that feel like? To know, without any doubt, that you are the most powerful, indestructible, eternal, infinite energy in this entire universe and all connecting universes. Practice knowing this divine presence is you all day today. Initiate and integrate this knowingness while you work, eat, drive, play, and engage in conversation with others. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the evening and night and the following morning. We will return here Tuesday, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, May 7th. Continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest deepest, purest of the purest purest. Eternal gratitude at all times. What's happening around you or inside of you, enjoy the magic.